Welcome to Join Our Town. I'm your host today, Kate McGovern, and today's guest is Aaron and Mike, the Davenport firefighters. What are some of the main responsibilities that you have as firefighters, in serving our community? What would you like to share on that?
Our responsibilities to the community obviously is to protect everyone from fire as well as their property. So that's our biggest concerns, is protection of life and property. Now we can do that in a number of ways. We have the aspect of the operational side. So that's where you see the firefighters and the fire trucks, and we respond to a scene and we put fire out. And but there's also a side that's kind of a behind the scenes act, and it's more prevention. So there are a lot of things that we can do to prevent fires from ever happening, and we've found that the best thing you can do is couple those two missions, and the community wins when we do that correctly.
Can you tell me a little bit about that, the missions of the preventative fire that you were just talking about?
Fire prevention is our efforts to take what we know about fire and to educate the community. Things that we know, things that have been proven over time, things about just in a residential home, there's things that you can do. Obviously we know that smoke detectors are important. They work only if they're maintained. So we talk about maintenance, we talk about having batteries in them that work, we talk about testing them once a month. We talk about teaching kids how fires start, and we teach them not to play with matches and lighters, and if they see a fire, that we want to report that correctly by the use of the 911 system immediately. So,
what do you believe is the role of the fire department in our community? What is the role that the fire department has?
Again, I'll go back. Our number one mission is the protection of life and property from fire. But as we're going to talk about later here today, back in the 1970s, the fire service pioneered emergency medicine. So now we're looking at going out and taking care of people who are very sick or very hurt, and assessing them rapidly and deciding what kind of treatment they need to stabilize them and get them to a hospital where they can receive definitive care for whatever ailment they have.
Can you tell me how does one get into firefighting, and how long is it before you become, certified in firefighting?
It all depends. You pick a career as a firefighter, and assuming that person wants to be a career firefighter, so you're getting paid to do that job, not a volunteer, but a professional firefighter. There are a lot of different avenues. Mine was starting with it was a combination paid and volunteer department first, getting the education, going through my EMT schooling and paramedic school, the foundation of those basic firefighter skills, and then right place, right time. I tested for a fire department and walked into that after 2 years, and I've been doing that ever since. So that was my side. That was my entry.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, roughly the same. Like I said, I chose what I want to do after my first year of college, so it was just preparation and getting to that point. And you have to get most departments required to get some time of EMT training, emergency medical technician training. So I received that, did some time on the ambulance, which gave me great experience for the EMS that the fire department does, and then I also did some time on the volunteer service as well, which got me my Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2 certifications, which are all classes that you take through the Iowa Fire Service Training Bureau, and they certify you, and that just gives you an advantage over the other candidates. It's a very difficult process, in my opinion. A lot of people want to be firefighters, career firefighters. You got to put your mind to it. You got to get through credentials, and you got to pass all the tests.
Yeah. And for both of you, this question: what is the most important aspect for you in being a firefighter?
The most important aspect of being a firefighter to me is understanding all the responsibilities that we have, all those things that fall within our mission statement, all those services that we're required to provide. And so being able to balance all of our activities every day, like Mike just said, we have a responsibility not just responding on calls, but public education, that fire prevention aspect. We have the emergency medical services component of that, which is roughly 70 to 80% of what we do every day. It's sometimes hazardous materials response. It's all the various tasks that come up every day just to keep the fire department running, and that's sometimes is almost more demanding than the calls themselves. So it's a balancing act of all those, but just an overall preparedness for ourselves in order to give the community what they truly deserve.
And I'll add to that, even on our off days, preparation. A lot of our training is done on our off days when we're not getting paid to do stuff like that. And just being prepared and getting to bed early the night before you go on shift, because you never know how long of a night it's going to be. You're not up till 2 or 3 in the morning doing things you shouldn't be doing. I mean, it's just part of being a firefighter and being somebody the community looks up to, and that's what we are.
Yeah, you guys are really on your toes. Hearing you say that, yeah. Do you have a story that you could share with our viewers today as being a firefighter that like really stands out to you, that you could share, that just, you know, the great results of what you do? You mentioned before, Mike, about you just really want to give back to your community. Yeah.
I had a call. I was actually working out with the fire department, but on the medic ambulance, which works alongside the fire department, and we had a child that was born, and that female, for whatever reason, didn't realize she was pregnant, and she delivered the child in the toilet and didn't call us for approximately 15 minutes after the delivery, give or take. And we got on scene. Child was as blue as the sky, not breathing on its own. Everything had delivered. We pulled the baby out, started chest compressions right away, which we'll get into later on in CPR, and began respirating this patient. Within 2 minutes, the baby started breathing on its own, and it's still alive and healthy today. So it's just one of those great outcomes that happens. Not everything works out that way, but when things all come into place, it's fun to watch it happen and be a part of it. So
Mine's kind of similar. It's always a good thing to have a success story like that, and mine is similar. It's revolves around the quick use CPR. So mine was I was actually coming back from the hospital from visiting my grandfather at that time with my dad, and we heard a call go out over my fire department pager that I had at that time, and it was for a gentleman that my dad actually used to work with, and we were driving right by his house. So we drove up to his house real quick, went inside and found him unresponsive, and administered early good CPR until the fire department and ambulance arrived, and they transported him to the hospital, and there was a good outcome. He had undergone heart surgery after that, but lived for about 19 more years after that. So,
wow,
always satisfying.
Yes.
So.
Do you have any closing thoughts that you would like to share with our viewers today, in just prevention of fire and what you do, what you offer for them, maybe things they might not know?
just what we're doing on our off time.
Yeah.
A lot of people think we just sit in recliners and watch TV, and that is surely not the case. That's what we do during our off days. There are times when we're able to do that, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, we're preparing ourselves for what the next emergency could be, whether it be a hazmat incident, whether it be an EMS call, whether it be a fire. I mean, a fire is very demanding on our bodies. It's important that we stay very physically fit to handle those situations. Yeah. And then just the things that we get to see, or see when you're on scene, that kind of live with you for the rest of your career, stuff that you just aren't prepared for all the time, and you got to adjust to the situation and handle it appropriately. We're the professionals that people expect us to come on scene and be ready to work. We're not the ones that are supposed to panic. That's the family's job. They're panicking. We're there to be professional, handle the situation, and give them some type of closure, whatever that might be, and hopefully a solution to their problem.
Yeah.
So.
I also kind of look at the bigger picture. Back early on in the fire service, people understood that the fire department was there to protect them from fire and to protect their property. And over the years, it's been a lot easier to question government and the expenditure of funds for those services that a city or a county provides. And we have to be accountable. We can't just assume that people know what we're doing and just leave them with that sense that we're doing what they think we're supposed to be doing. So there is a need for accountability, and I agree with that. We have to be, in my opinion, open and honest about, what does this fire department do? Is it doing what the citizens are asking it to do? And to share the information that will, I think, help alleviate some of the mystery behind how we do some of the things that we do, because there's reasons for a lot of that. So it's on us to, again, not only educate them about fire prevention, but about how we, as the fire department, deal with those emergencies and the preparedness behind them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to thank you, Aaron and Mike, and just for everything that you shared, and with our viewers today. Thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on Joy in Our Town.
Got a new TV, computer, or cell phone? Waste Commission of Scott County will properly recycle your old e-waste, so don't worry about your data and information. Not sure what items are considered e-waste? It's simple. Anything with a screen or circuit board. No appointment necessary. Just stop by our e-waste facility to drop off your items. The best part? It's free for Scott and Rock Island County residents. E-waste recycling. Good for the environment, easy for you. Not sure what to do with all those paint cans, cleaners, and other harmful items under the sink and in your garage? This material poses a health risk and is harmful to the environment, so it can't be thrown out. Go to wastecom.com and make an appointment to bring in your hazardous material. We will dispose of it properly, and here's the best part. It's free for Scott and Rock Island County residents. Proper disposal of hazardous material. Good for the environment, easy for you.
Hey kids, what's a great way to start your day?
Wake up early and take over the bathroom before your brother?
No! First, fruits and veggies. Second, walk to school.
Yeah, we walk the safe route to school every day, Skip.
I know, Scout. It's a great way to get some exercise.
And look, our community garden.
Yep, right in our neighborhood. So we can eat healthy.
And move more.
Made possible with funding from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Well, Mike, we have Michael Dorton here with us, and he is a firefighter from Davenport, and we have this demonstration on CPR we're going to do today, Mike, so I'm going to let you take it away and show our viewers, show me. I'm excited to find out today the right way to help someone when they need CPR.
Excellent. Well, we're going to go over the AHA, American Heart Association's recommendations for CPR for the bystander or layperson. This is not an advanced skill at all. We want everybody who's able to do CPR to try CPR. We can do this from a 6th grade, 4th grade, 5th grade level, all the way to being a senior citizen if you're capable of doing CPR. It's a very simple task, and it will save lives, I guarantee it. I'm going to share a couple stories with you real quick, and then we're going to get into the mannequin CPR. I was discussing a little bit ago about how excited I get when I show up on scene. And I shouldn't be getting excited, but I am when I see somebody in cardiac arrest and there's a layperson doing CPR when I get there. My chances of bringing this person back to life and having the opportunity to them to meet their family again have doubled, if not tripled. There are over 320,000 cardiac arrests in the United States worldwide. So this is going to happen. You're going to see it someday, and odds are it's going to happen to a loved one because 70% of these cases happen at home. So it's very important that we know this because you have the opportunity to not save somebody else's life, but your loved one's life that you want to talk to again. So we're going to go over the basic steps of CPR. Okay. I'm going to bring Aaron in here in just a second, have him come on in here, and he's going to show us what a bystander will do, how early access, and then kind of calling us and getting us on scene, how it will work. Okay, so what we're looking for initially, you walk up on scene, okay, you see somebody go down in the mall, you were discussing earlier, somebody falls down on the floor. What am I looking for? What am I going to do? Everybody kind of panics. 70% of the time, nobody does anything. They just stand there and look at this patient. They might call 911, which is something, but 70% of the time, nobody does anything. And guess what's happening to that patient? They're dying. It takes us 3 to 5 minutes, give or take, to get on scene. In 3 to 5 minutes, this person's brain dead. We don't have 3 to 5 minutes. That's why I get excited when somebody's doing CPR. So if we can get CPR right away, we're reperfusing the brain, reperfusing the heart, giving this patient a chance to come back to life. So what are we doing? We're showing up on scene. You're looking at the patient. You kind of kneel down. I'll have Aaron kneel down and look for me while I explain. He sees somebody fall down the mall. He's looking. All he's looking for is breathing. That's all he wants to look for right now. Is this patient breathing or not? Obviously, we're with a mannequin right now, so this patient's not breathing. So what Aaron's initially going to do is start CPR right away. Okay? You don't have to do pulse checks. We don't have to open the airway. This is just layman's term. We're going to start CPR. We're going to ask, how do we do CPR? Aaron's going to show you with his hands here. He has the palm of his hand on the lower half of the patient's sternum. So you got the nipple line here, lower half of the sternum. That's going to compress the heart. Then he brings his other hand over the top, and it doesn't matter which hands, whatever you're more comfortable with. If you're right-handed, right hand, left-handed, left hand. So he's got his right hand, he crosses his fingers. See how his arms are straight? This is going to give him the power to come down. He's not using his triceps to push, he's using his whole body. So Aaron, go ahead and do a few compressions for me. He's going to start them. He's going 2 inches deep. You guys, the thing I want you to remember is if you're doing CPR, it's nice to do something, but if you're not going 2 inches, you're not doing anything. We're not reperfusing that heart. We're not pushing blood to the brain and the heart to get the care we need for this patient. So good job, Aaron. We're going to stop there. That's just your basic CPR. That's all I really need you to do manually. Okay, we'll add the breaths in a minute if you're comfortable with that, but that's not anything you have to do. That right there will save a person's life. I almost guarantee it. Okay, next, we're going to talk about the AED and how we're getting everybody involved in the whole thing. Okay, because this is not just you show up on scene and start CPR, you don't have anybody else coming. This is not going to do this patient any good, or this person. You got to have fire department, you got to have the ambulance, you got to have everything started set in motion. Okay? So what Aaron's going to do is he's going to show up on scene. He's going to see, we'll pretend you're here around him. Okay?
Okay.
So he's going to look and say, hey, are you okay? Try and wake them up. They're unresponsive. They're not breathing. What's Aaron going to do now? He's going to point at you directly. He's going to tell you to call 911, and I need you to get an AED. Is anybody familiar with an AED? I hope so. If you're not, it's called an automated external defibrillator. They keep them in a lot of businesses. I see them at the YMCA a lot. Familiarize yourself with them. If somebody knows what it is, it's great, because early defibrillation will save this person's life as well. And that's what an AED does. The patch is attached to their chest, and it shocks them and gets the heart back into that normal rhythm I was talking about.
Okay.
Because it's in an irregular rhythm right now. Okay? So Aaron's going to say, hey, go call 911 and get the AED. And you have to point to somebody. Because I guarantee you, if there's 5 people standing right here, and he says somebody call 911 and get the AED, guess what everyone's going to do? Stand and stare at each other.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to actually go do it. You have to say, you call 911, you get the AED. Okay? That's if you have a lot of people around. Let's just pretend for a second we're at home by ourselves. Nobody's here. You see dad, mom, loved one go down. First thing you're going to want to do is get to that phone and get us coming.
Okay.
Get to the phone, call 911. 911 is an excellent resource. Dispatch anymore will walk you through CPR if you don't know it. Dispatch is going to tell you all the processes to go through. If you're already well versed in it, it's going to help out that much faster. I mean, you're just delaying 25, 30 seconds. Because as I said, 3 to 5 minutes, you're brain dead. So we don't have a lot of time. So 30 to 40 seconds, you're going to eliminate just knowing these basic steps. But you can put everyone has a cell phone now almost. Put your cell phone on speakerphone. Dispatch will walk you through the entire process while having us en route. And like I said, we're going to be there within 3 to 5 minutes. So your stint here is not going to be very long, but it's crucial to this patient's survival and continuum of care. So he called you to go get 911. He told somebody to get the AED. You're doing that. He's starting his compressions right away. Okay?
Okay.
And he's going to do a compression ratio of 30 to 2. I'm going to throw in the airway part right now. If anybody's uncomfortable with the airway, that doesn't mean don't do anything. Do this. This, I guarantee you, will help my chances of getting this person back and the doctors in post-care. So if he can at least do this, we're going to be in a bonus. Now, if this is a loved one, we still need oxygen in the body, right? There's enough oxygen in the body to sustain us for about 2 minutes of him doing this before we get there. 2 to 5 minutes, roughly. So if we can start breathing for this patient, it's even better. So what Aaron's going to do, he's going to count to 30 out loud, hopefully. So we're going to pretend he's at 28, 29, and 30. There's 30 compressions. Now he's going to come over and do 2 breaths for this patient. And what this is doing is filling up the lungs full of oxygen, so when he starts pumping on the chest again, that oxygen gets dispersed throughout the body. Not necessarily through the body, but through the heart and brain. Because chest compressions only provide about 30% of cardiac output, what your heart can normally do on its own.
Okay.
So it's not all that effective, but it's effective enough to reproduce your heart, oxygenate your heart, and reoxygenate your brain.
Okay.
So to show Aaron these 2 breaths, Aaron knows how to do them here. Head tilt chin lift is what it's called. Basically all you're doing is you're just pulling the head back a little bit, so this is all in line. His hand position is important, but it's not crucial. He's got his hands under the jawline here. That way he's not pushing up and impeding the airway even more. Hands on the jawline, he's pushing back the head. And all he's going to do to give breaths is blow in this patient's mouth, and if he can, cover the nose with his other hand. Doesn't have to, though. You're looking for 2 breaths that last about a second apiece. Just this is where a lot of people get hung up, though. And that's why I don't like to talk about it so much in layperson CPR. Because a lot of people won't do anything because they don't want to give people breaths. I'm not asking anybody to give breaths. All I'm asking you to do is do compressions on this patient. Because I guarantee you it's going to help this patient with survival.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Another thing to throw in there as well that they like to talk about is try and expose the upper portion of the chest so you can see where you're talking. See where you're pushing. Everybody has a little different body shape. It's tough to see exactly where the chest line is. You want to be pushed in the right spot. Because as I said, effective chest compressions will reperfuse the brain and reperfuse the heart. So that is that on the CPR portion. It's very simple. We're going to go over one more time,
Okay.
and then we're going to go over choking in an adult and choking in an infant, which I'd like to also hit on just real quick.
Absolutely.
So one last time here, we're going to go through it. So we're walking around the mall. This patient, we see him fall down. It's immediate. We know how critical it is that we get on this patient's chest immediately if he's in cardiac arrest, and we get that AED coming. So what Aaron's going to do is he's going to walk up next to this patient. He's looking, seeing responsiveness. He's looking for breathing at all, if any kind of breathing. If his breathing is normal, we're not going to do anything. We're going to call 911 still, but we're not going to start pushing on the chest. However, if his breathing is abnormal or not breathing at all, we're going to start compressions right away, and we're going to get somebody on 911 and the AED, okay, if somebody has it. An AED is very important, but not every business has one. So someone might not know where it is. If you know where it's at, tell them where it's at, okay? So when you go get 911 and the AED, he's going to start on chest compressions. It's that easy. Expose the chest if he can. The key is, that the AHA wants you to remember is, you're pushing hard and fast, 100 compressions to 120 compressions a minute. That's 2 compressions a second, roughly.
Okay.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
So you're moving pretty quick with compressions. And what that's doing is reproducing the heart and brain. You're pushing at least 2 inches deep. At least 2 inches deep. They would say even 2.4 inches now. This is a recommendation. So they want you getting in that chest. And then then it's just waiting for us to come. You're doing this until this patient either wakes up on their own or we show up. Okay. I'm going to share a quick story with you. I was at a local pool a while back. I was in the water with my daughter, and I heard the lifeguard blow the whistle. And I was like, that's weird. Everybody's getting out of the pool. I'm kind of walking out, and all of a sudden I see him pull this lifeless body of a teenager out of the water from the deep end. Right away, this lifeguard gets the body out of the water. This patient is clinically dead at this point. I mean, he's got no pulse. He's not breathing. What they did is they started CPR right away. I mean, right away. Good CPR, too. It's none of this barely pushed on the chest. I mean, you have to really get into these patients' chests in order to perfuse that heart. So they were really pushed on the chest. Within 3 minutes of CPR, this patient started moving again.
Wow.
Just like that. I mean, that's just a life saved at 17 years old that was dead, but without CPR would still be dead, but now is alive. And it's just amazing how that can happen and what you can witness. And it was awesome for me to be able to see that from a bystander's point of view. Like, wow, this stuff really does work. It's not just, because I'm used to seeing the after effects after everything's all, but I got to see it from the initial point of the panic that ensues. Everybody's kind of in a circle, like, what do we do? And then these 2 people came in and started CPR right away, and it saved this person's life. And it's just a very cool thing. The next thing I want to go over is choking.
Okay.
We'll start on the adult real quick. And I'm just going to use Aaron as my example.
Sure.
Because with the choking victim, what you're going to find is they're still going to be responsive while they're choking. The universal choking sign is like this. Everybody should know it. So if you can't breathe, you're doing this. And you're going to notice people's lips are going to start turning blue because they're not oxygenated anymore. And they're still going to be alive and able to see you, but they only have a few seconds left. Or maybe a few minutes, however long you can hold your breath. So what's going to happen is Aaron acts like Aaron's pretending he's choking right now. I'm looking at Aaron. Aaron, are you choking? He's going to nod at me. I don't hear him coughing at all. If I heard him coughing, I wouldn't be doing anything because he's still moving air if he's coughing. I don't hear anything going on. So what you're going to do is you're going to get behind these patients. You find their belly button with whatever hand you're dominant with. I'm dominant left hand. I'm going to find his belly button and form a fist right above it. When I come behind him, I'm going to grab this, and what I'm doing is thrusting upward into his abdominal cavity, into his lungs. And what's that's doing is forcing the air out of his lungs, because where the food is lodged is his trachea. So that's occluded right now, so we need to force that out. So he still has air in his lungs, so when we're pushing up, we're hoping to get that lodged out. Now my positioning when I do this, you're not going to do this all the time, so I'm going to have a little better positioning than most people probably would, but you're going to come your leg in between them. Because guess what happens if if I don't get this out, Aaron's going down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to him here, and if Aaron goes limpless right now, I'm holding him up.
Yeah.
And essentially what I'm doing from this point is guiding him to the ground, and we're just back to CPR, which is what we just learned.
Yeah.
And it's all compressions. And that's pretty much what we've got to today, which is a huge stepping point for us, because I can't emphasize enough how important it is to start CPR right now. Because if you wait until we get there to start it, our chances of getting this patient back have just decreased so much. So we need you to do it right away. I'm going to do one on infants real quick, because I think that's very important as well.
Absolutely.
A lot of people have babies. They get very concerned. And this is a pretty good sized baby, by the way.
Yeah.
I have a 6-week-old at home, and he is much bigger. This one's much bigger than my 6-week-old. But basically what you're doing is you're looking, same situation with an adult choking, only you're not going to have the baby doesn't know it's choking. It's just going to not be breathing. When the baby's not breathing, you're looking for any chest movement. You're looking for that chest rise, because babies' chest and stomach rise a lot when they breathe. You're not seeing anything. What we're doing with kids, if they're not breathing, they're still going to be responsive though, because when you're choking, you're not unresponsive yet, because that would be a cardiac arrest. So this baby's still responsive, but he's not breathing. What I'm going to do is do 5 back slaps and 5 chest thrusts is what it's called. So you're going to hold the baby like so on your forearm. You see I'm supporting his head, or her head, because it's wearing pink, we'll call it a her. I'm supporting her head. This is very important because we know how infants don't have a lot of muscle tone. We don't want to hurt them any worse than they already are. So you're going to hold them, and you're going to use gravity to your advantage when you do these back slaps. You're not going to hold the baby like this. It's not going to be as easy for that food to come out. or whatever's in there. Hold the baby like this. You're using gravity, letting it come out. And what I'm doing when I back slap is I'm putting 5 hard thrusts right almost between the shoulder blades in an upward motion. Same theory as in an adult. They have air in the lungs. There's something caught in the trachea, which is the beginning where the lungs go down, and you're trying to force it out of that area. So I'm doing 5 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm tipping the baby over, and now we're just doing 5 chest compressions on a baby. So it's the same thing we just learned here, only it's right here, 5 of them. And you're going to continue this until the baby goes unresponsive. Now, while all this is going on, we need to get 911 coming. Because like I said, we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So if we can get 911 on its way, and you're doing this, this is going to greatly increase our chances of getting this baby the food lodge, and then we can come with our advanced tools and hopefully find it and get it out if it's not
Yeah.
out, is our goal. So that is what I have for infant, adult CPR, and choking.
That's fantastic. I have a question quick,
Yeah.
Mike. If it's just a mom at home with the baby
Mm-hmm.
and she's doing this, the CPR, and what happens when she's trying to make that phone call? Yet, can she take just that second to call and
Well,
that's it?
The thing we need to, I guess that's the important part, is we have to be coming because we can't do anybody any good
Right.
if this doesn't get any better if we're not there. And 5 minutes down the road is too long. So with infants especially, they're airway dependent.
Okay.
Everything depends on the airway. A lot of times they don't have cardiac issues.
Right.
It all happens secondary to not breathing. So the cardiac will end up happening because they're not breathing. So if we find an infant unresponsive, it's important we're doing compressions, we're managing their airway, but we're also getting 911 on the way and getting more professionals there to help you out, and then we're going to take them to the experts at the hospital.
Mike, I just want to thank you so much, and Aaron, for coming and doing this demonstration today and showing our viewers, what we can do as lay people to help someone when we come on the scene like you shared. So thank you once again so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to thank our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us today and Join Our Town. Till next time, we'll see you then. Thanks so much.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Join Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Join Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.
You're watching TBN, part of the Trinity Broadcasting family of networks.